Hi guys, welcome to Deep Dive, a series of podcasts made by AnakQatar, in which AnakQatar and friends will dive deep into our Indonesian roots, explore our identity as Indonesian diaspora, as well as discussing issues faced in the international sphere. Our podcast will be uploaded in YouTube and Spotify, so don't forget to follow both our Spotify account and our YouTube account. Subscribe there if you want more content made by Indonesian diaspora. My name is Ahsan and I will host today's episode on Indonesia and the World Cup, and I will be helped by some of the wonderful guests here. We have Michelle, we have Fauzan, and we have Ahmad as well. Since today's episode will be about the World Cup, specifically the FIFA World Cup, or as what FIFA stands for in English, and I know from the abbreviation itself, FIFA, it doesn't really add up, but the name's in another language and I'm not going to be the one butchering the pronunciations here. So since today's episode is going to be about football and the World Cup that's coming up, what better way can you guys get to know our guests and me as well than ask them on who they predict is going to win the World Cup 2022. So because this episode is about football, I just want to ask you guys, what are your predictions for the World Cup? And the main thing is, who do you think is going to win?
Who's going to win? I believe it's going to be Brazil. If not, then a South American country, maybe Argentina.
Interesting. So South American exclusive. South American countries, 2014, 2018, they didn't win any World Cups, no. So they haven't World Cup in recent years. So I think this year, yeah, for sure. Do you have any predictions for who's gonna be the underdogs or whatever? I was thinking about Denmark. What do you guys think?
Honestly, it's clear the fan favorites, Brazil, but just a little bit of hope for the Netherlands. I want to say underdogs, but I really don't think they're underdogs. But you get the point. You get the gist.
Yeah, how about you, Fazan, man?
Honestly, I don't really have a team that I'm rooting for.
Just whoever's winning.
Yeah, just whoever's winning, I guess. Yeah, that's all right. But for each group, who do you think is gonna come advance to the round of 16 from each group?
So let's go through each group. Group A is Qatar, Ecuador, Senegal, and Netherlands.
The thing is with Senegal, right? I think Mane is not playing because he's injured. But Netherlands is definitely they're definitely through. But that leaves just one more space for.
You know what though? I think a lot of people have been counting out Senegal just because they don't have money in, but then they have Koulibaly, right? Their defenses are pretty solid.
Edouard Mendy as goalkeeper as well.
Yeah, Edouard Mendy as goalie.
And they did win AFCON.
Yeah. They did with AFCON. Somebody said, I think Ahmad, you said it Qatar might make it out of the group, which is it can happen.
But after the group, I don't know.
I feel it's because they're used to playing in these conditions, right?
That's a good point. Yeah.
Home advantage. Okay, fair enough.
How about Group B though? What y'all thinking about Group B? England, top of the group. USA though, I don't know.
I don't want to underestimate them, but they haven't. We'll see.
There's Wales in there. Wales have Gareth Bale and Ramsey.
Yeah. And Iran as well. I think they're pretty solid.
Iran might be underrated in this group. Yeah, they might cause a few problems.
No, but Iran though, their territory, their country is closer to Qatar. The climate,
similar climate, yeah. So they do have.
England and Wales are suffering in this year. Did you see that clip of the England players training?
Yeah, they're standing right next to the fan.
But I still think England's gonna top of the group.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, obviously, but
second place,
Wales.
Yeah,
I was thinking Wales too.
No, but then where would we put Iran?
Iran probably last, I feel
Iran third or last. Listen, Group C in my opinion is pretty easy. Argentina, Mexico. Fam.
Why don't you think Poland's gonna do anything? You have Lewandowski.
Nah.
They're decent players.
I always thought Poland's a one-man show. Unless the people in the middle and the people in the back are just start turning up. Nah, I don't think.
Argentina, Mexico, yeah. I'm back there. Saudi Arabia last.
They got put in a tough group. Group D. Me personally, France and Denmark.
Also Tunisian fans though. I've seen more Tunisian fans in Souk than any other fan. Doesn't mean they're winning, but the fans are there.
What do you think Australia's gonna do?
Look, Australian climate and plus they don't have that many good players that I'd say considered to be world class. I don't think they have a lot, or I don't think they have any.
Do you think Denmark might come first because France has so many injuries? Pogba, Kante, and Kunku.
No, but they're still pretty solid. And I think they were the winners for the 2018 World Cup as well.
Have you guys heard of the winner's curse though?
Yeah.
Yeah, if some country wins the next World Cup, they get out in the group stage.
Yeah, man, we'll see how France is doing. But like they got knocked out by Switzerland, no?
And the Euros, yeah.
Yeah.
But I'll back that. France, Denmark.
Moving on to Group E, you know what I'm saying? I think this is a more competitive group, definitely from Group D.
Yeah.
I think Group C and Group E are like, you know, what they say, like the group of death. So like they have one country who's like good, but then like they're gonna get knocked out effectively because there can only be two countries that advance, right?
But I think he's the most competitive. There's no bad team. I'd still put Germany up there though. I'd say Germany for sure.
Germany, Spain.
I'll put Spain. I'll put Spain number one.
I'd put Germany and then Spain.
Yeah, I think Germany's gonna top it.
Germany, Spain, Japan, Costa Rica.
Japan's gonna get knocked out, man.
Like Japan's good, but I don't know how I feel about them as a team as compared to, Germany, Spain.
I'll say this though. You know how Japan almost knocked out Belgium in the last World Cup?
They were pretty solid.
They're solid. Like there's good competition in that group.
I think there could be some upsets as well.
Mm-hmm.
Group D and Group E.
How about Group F though? Group F is like clear cut, man. Croatia, Belgium.
No, but you can't count out Morocco, bro.
I like their players.
Listen, I don't know about Davies or whatever, you know, but like Belgium's a really good team, fam.
Belgium and Croatia. Even though Croatia, their team is getting old, like Modric, they're still really good quality. Morocco, they're going to struggle because Hakim Ziyech isn't in the team.
Like Rakitic is getting old, like way past his prime, you know.
So it could be a close group, I think. I think it's a close group.
Group G, man. Brazil, look.
This might be another group of death, actually. Right?
Nah, not a group of death, man. Come on.
I think Switzerland might shock some people. Serbia is decent. Cameroon is a really good African country. The second place will be hard, I feel like.
See, I know Brazil gonna come out on top. I swear if Brazil doesn't come out on top, man.
if Brazil doesn't go out the group stages,
But realistically, I don't think Brazil gonna get knocked out. Brazil number one, but number two, man. What you guys think?
I'm thinking Switzerland or Cameroon. I don't think it's gonna be Serbia.
True.
I feel like Switzerland, yeah. Because they did have a good Euros run.
I mean, I'll say the same too. Brazil and Switzerland, you know. Group H, man. Portugal, Ghana,
Sure.
Uruguay, and Korea. No, not the north one though, you know what I'm saying? Like
Portugal's going to win.
Hopefully. It's gonna be a big letdown if they don't.
This one is really strong. So
yeah,
if
true.
they don't win the group, then there's going to be problems.
I think it's hard to guess the top one and top two for this group. I think they're all pretty good teams. Although maybe I'd say maybe Portugal and
I think Portugal and Uruguay though. I won't lie.
You know, Uruguay has the Real Madrid midfielder, is it Valverde? They have Darwin Núñez as well, and up top.
I mean, they did go like to the round of 16, like last World Cup, and like they went really far in the 2010 World Cup. So I'm thinking, yeah, they're probably gonna go. Korea is calm, but like it's just the group is tough.
And how many good players do they have? Just one, or maybe two. Son, and there is this one defender that played for Napoli called Kim Min Jae, and this striker for Wolves called Hwang Hee-chan. But I think that's not enough.
Yeah, not for Portugal, definitely.
Like I'm just saying, man. If you play FIFA, Wang Hee-chan and like Son are like hella meta. They're fast people, man. And if you see the backline for Portugal, you know they're not the fastest backline in the world.
Do you see Korea's backline? It's all just Kims.
I don't know. Their names are really similar. Kim is like Ahmed or like Abdullah and like Arab names. Like just everyone has that name.
Kim and Park.
So since the World Cup is a massive event that is going to be held countrywide pretty much, even though the World Cup in 2022 kind of seems like a Doha World Cup. I mean, maybe Al-Khor, but I didn't see no one build stadiums in Dukhan or anything, you know what I'm saying? But regardless, because it requires a lot of infrastructure such as hotels, transportation, and you know they gotta all make it straight. They gotta all make it ready for fans to travel around and enjoy Qatar during the World Cup. So how did Qatar manage to not only develop as a country and prepare for the World Cup? How did Qatar manage to accelerate that development so that it is ready in time for everyone to enjoy the World Cup? Alright, but like, you know, qualifying rounds, there are already like 200 countries, you know, attempting to qualify the World Cup. Now we're like narrowing it down to the groups, but then you see like how many, there's still like a lot of countries that make it in the group stages, like 32 countries. You'll all know how like Qatar is like a small country. How'd you guys feel like, you know, with all the crowd and like the fans and everything? These 32 countries, each of them come with like a really, really big fan base.
I think it's really nice the stuff they've been doing to build up for the World Cup in terms of the infrastructure and just like these past few weeks. I think it's really nice. Like in terms of the infrastructure, they've been building up the stadiums, the sporting culture, the football culture here. Like they built up entering the Qatari national team, which went on to win the AFC Asian Cup, I think, in 2019, right?
Yeah.
So that's a pretty big achievement as well. And not to mention the metro station as well. They've built, and the Lusail city. Like there was nothing there before that. Before 2010, it was just desert there.
Yeah, definitely. I think like this World Cup, like it helps Qatar like sort of accelerate their development as a country, because they're forced to like facilitate all these like people who are going to come to the country. They're going to move around, like the metro system. But how do you guys deal with the crowd, like you guys personally, or do you guys just don't hang out, or?
Just avoid all that.
Where I live.
I'd rather not.
No, because me personally, I just take Uber now.
Same. Or drive. I can't be asked to metro. Especially with school right next to everything. You have DCC, you have all of West Bay just packed. And traffic too, so.
Have you guys seen any footballers around?
Nah, fam. Unfortunately, no.
I've seen the buses, but I haven't been bothered enough to go to a hotel.
No, my friends have seen them in malls and stuff, just like strolling around casually.
Oh, yeah.
Who though?
My friend met Alfonso Davies, and then my other friend met the Dutch national team.
I mean, it's surprising that they can stroll around like that, See?
Yeah.
Yeah, usually they'd be bombarded.
I mean, I think there are like lots of policies that come with like the World Cup being held in Qatar, because the government has to like adapt to it. And I think one of the best ones is making like, people go off on holiday during the World Cup, because if I go to school during World Cup, yeah, insane. You have the people, the construction workers in the metro. You have like,
Fans.
you have the fans. It's just not it, man.
And the staff. Because they're all right behind school too in the tennis place. As if before the World Cup wasn't bad enough for the crowds.
Yeah.
Now it's with the fans.
But it makes it a bit more lively, so there's that too as well. Well, I live far away from the city, so I can't really say much. But whenever I do go to the city, it's quite nice.
I guess you can say that, but
then yeah, our school is like smack down in the city, so with two other schools, so I don't know.
There's this road in front of my school where like there are schools next to it, and it takes like 10-15 minutes just to go from like one end of the road to the other side of the road, even though it's like
less than a kilometer.
Yeah, less than a kilometer. Way less than a kilometer.
I'm feeling.
Nah, because like man's in the Khan, you know what I'm saying?
I walk to school. I walk up to school, no issues whatsoever.
Man.
This man has not seen the struggles of World Cup fans.
I mean, it's like this is when living in Dukhan's actually good, but it's gonna expire.
It's less living in Doha because you're close to the fan zones. Like I want to go there with my friends sometime, and just like watch feel the vibes,
But man, like after 28 days, all the Dukhan advantages are gonna be gone. You know what I'm just saying?
Just for this one.
Enjoy it while it lasts, man.
So we all know that FIFA World Cup is an international tournament between nations, not clubs, and a nation needs to prepare the best squad they could prepare possible from the people who originate from the respective nation. So because of that, it is very much a national matter to be discussed about, and we always hear other people talking about the European teams and the South American teams like France, Brazil, Argentina, and everything else. But how about Indonesia? As a country, how did we do in the qualifying rounds? And what are our plans as a country to, maybe get us to qualify for the World Cup finals in the future? And did they even participate in a World Cup once? But I was just thinking, Indonesian football is not really as established as other sports like badminton in the world stage, especially. Indonesia did participate in the World Cup, but it was a really, really long time ago. I think in the 1938 World Cup.
38, yeah.
Yeah, it was before independence, I think, right?
But it's pretty cool that like we did participate in a World Cup,
And we were the first Asian country, if I'm not wrong.
But we didn't represent Indonesia. We were under Dutch East Indies. So I don't know how I feel about that.
So it's not really Indonesia, but it is Indonesia. You know what I'm saying?
It's
The players, yeah. The name.
They finished 15th position though.
Yeah, they got knocked out.
I mean, people who went to the World Cup, the players, because this is in the older, like in the past, some of them are actually treating football as like a side job. So it's like some of them are doctors, some of them are like whatever,
Because it barely makes ends meet, with the with the national team salary.
It's like their country's under occupation.
Wasn't the best of conditions for me.
I mean, do you guys see like Indonesia going to the World Cup in the future though, like being established as a country?
Maybe not in the near future, but sooner or later.
Maybe like 12 years down the line, 15 years down the line. Because we have a lot of good young players. We just need to let them develop and we'll see from there.
The interest in Indonesia for football is huge. It's almost similar, if not bigger than badminton, but it's just a way to facilitate it so that like you get the best out of the best talents.
And we're actually making big moves right now because we're trying to naturalize players from like Europe to become Indonesian and play for Indonesia. Like we have a few players that play in England that are playing for the Indonesian national team.
It's quite similar to what Qatar is doing for their national team, and it paid off really well. I think it could be a good strategy.
I think Indonesia, the way that they view it, like culturally, it's almost like a side job, like football. I can understand why some people, even on like core family level, they think that football is not a viable profession. But I predict, right, in the future, there's going to be like one or two like breakthrough talents, like from the Indonesian country. And they're going to sort of like make that movement happen that like, you can earn good money, you can feed your family back home by means of football. It doesn't have to be doctors, it doesn't have to be engineers.
The actual teams, you can. It's just when it comes to a national level, I don't think they put enough funding, training to actually make ends meet. So I think if you just put enough effort or the same effort as you put into these clubs, you could probably do it.
Yeah. Just make it viable, make it a viable option so that they can focus on football itself. We've been talking about the future, man, but like, how about like now? Where's Indonesian football now? Because like Indonesia did fail to make it to the 2018 World Cup, I think. But they hired Shin Tae-yong. If you don't know who he is, he's like that coach who beat Germany in 2018. He was managing for Korea, South Korea.
I think before this, they were also consistent runner-ups. So they won second place 6 times in the AFF championship.
The way I see it, right, and Shin Tae-yong's team, majority of the players were like under the age of 23. Yeah, they're building for the future, which is like really, really good.
We played France in a friendly yesterday, the under 20s, and we lost 6-0.
I mean, no one's saying it's going to be like tomorrow, man.
Yeah.
No one's saying it's going to be like tomorrow. Asian football compared to like European football or like South American football is like, it's not of the same quality or the same caliber right now.
And I think that comes down to like from the beginning, like the training, the academies, that they all need to improve so we could get better players.
The talent is there, definitely.
Yeah.
Like in terms of talent, I put it with South America. Especially when they start playing from a young age.
The largest population in the world, like we should definitely find enough players that are good enough, that are world class to play in the national level.
I mean, I'm just saying, man, I've been to like the kampong and like you see the kids playing barefoot. They're insane, man. They don't get tired. They can dribble all day long. Bro, it's like crazy.
That's why I put them with South America. Like we have up to like 300 million in population. You're telling me there isn't one like world-class national talent? There has to be. Just the training is not there.
Yeah, and the dedication as well, and the like from the not from the people itself, but like maybe from the people above.
I would say they're definitely making moves. PSSA is making moves to move Indonesian football forward. We're very passionate in this sport. There's a lot of interest, and I see eventually we're gonna make it to the World Cup step by step. Because you're gonna have to be considered to be like a quite a strong force in the Asian continent itself before you can even look to the world stage. So there are pretty much two ways of qualifying for a World Cup. So you either go through your continental qualifying rounds and win those matches and qualify for a World Cup, which puts more emphasis on the strength of your squad, your footballing ability, and everything else. However, there's another way as well, which is hosting the tournament in your own country. So you become the host, you automatically qualify for your own World Cup to be held in your own country. Although this puts less emphasis on the footballing ability of your squad, this puts a lot more pressure into the infrastructure, into the development of your country as a whole in general. We're talking about accommodation, we're talking about safety of your country, we're talking about transportation. And this can pose a lot of challenge for countries to host the World Cup. But can Indonesia ever take on that challenge and host a World Cup in the future? Like with competitions, they have events, they have a lot of things like surrounding the events. So like say they have like events on a world level, such as like the World Cup, and then they have events on a continental level for like the Asian Cup, AFC Asian Cup. Because Indonesia, they hosted the AFC Asian Cup they're gonna host AFC Asian Cup for 2023, right?
As well as the Under 20 World Cup, I think.
Do you think Indonesia can ever host a World Cup event potentially in the future?
We need the stadiums capable for it because right now the only world class stadium we have is in Jakarta, the Jakarta International Stadium. We just need the infrastructure, and we might be able to get it.
And I think they also tried running for the 2022 World Cup, the one that's happening in Qatar right now, but it got rejected because of the lack of support from the government. So that's one like major problem that they might run into.
Infrastructure like plays a lot into hosting a World Cup, I'd say. You guys also have to think about Indonesia. They're separated into different islands. You have Sumatra, you have Jawa. How are players going to transfer around?
Yeah, would a World Cup in Indonesia be played in the different islands or just in one island, like Java, for
I
example?
don't think it would be like viable. Yeah, I think Java, just across Java, maybe 3, 4 cities. Anything more than that would be chaos for transport.
But we did host the Asian Games. It was in Jakarta and Palembang, and they're in different cities. So I guess that proves that it could happen, maybe.
But then again, the fans,
It's going to get even more crowded than ever, I think. So that's one big problem.
as if traffic isn't already a problem without any events.
Java, right? How we say earlier that, Qatar is such a small country, but then we're like hosting a big World Cup. Java, if we're hosting on Java alone, that's already a way, way bigger like land space than Qatar, right? And we get the advantage, but at the same time, we're gonna have to build an infrastructure type of infrastructure like metro system or something that covers the entire Java. And because it's larger, we need like a lot more money.
But I think we are making steps in the transportation point because I saw this article that we're a high-speed railway from Jakarta to Bandung, and it's going well so far.
Although what they could do is they could have a joint host with another Southeast Asian country, like what they're doing for the 2026 World Cup.
Indonesia, Malaysia is interesting, definitely, because they have this like part in like Kalimantan, I think. It sort of connects, right? But then we have to consider like how Kalimantan is not really developed compared to like Java.
Where's Singapore? It's like a ferry ride away.
Now, for countries to compete, let alone win the World Cup, they need to have the best players in the world playing for their team. However, things such as nationalization can get in the way of potentially the best players in the world playing for your own squad as a country. So nationalization is basically the act of giving people, i.e. the players, a national identity. Now, nationalization itself can prove to benefit a country's strength, I'm talking about footballing strength specifically, or it can prove to be detrimental to the strength of your squad itself. Now, this is a phenomenon that we see worldwide, and it's especially prevalent in African countries because a lot of players of African origin choose to play for European countries instead of, African countries that they originate from. And because it is of our national interest to keep the best players who are from Indonesian origin or the best footballing talents from Indonesia to play for our country, how can we do so? And why do Indonesians even think to play for another country? I want to talk about like in terms of the players now, because playing in the World Cup, we need players, we need good players to have a chance to qualify or like even win, But a lot of people now, and I'm not saying this is specifically happening in Indonesia. I think it already happened with a lot of players from a lot of African players. There are lots of Indonesian talents. Why do they not choose to play for Indonesia, which is their country of origin, and play for other countries?
I think this goes back to the infrastructure problem and the lack of dedication. Because if they aren't getting, like, why would they choose to stay in Indonesia when they can make 100 times the amount of money they can in another country with better facilities and like a better life for their family? So I think that's like a root of the problem.
Yeah, there's just way more opportunity outside of Indonesia. Like I know this one player called Mies Hilgers. He's like part Indonesian, but he chooses to play for the Dutch national team, which is a good move in my opinion because you have the opportunity to play in the World Cup in the future, like a greater opportunity than if you played for Indonesia, for example.
Have a greater chance to win World Cup, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, true, exactly. And the Euros as well. So yeah, there's just opportunities, more opportunities outside of Indonesia.
Yeah, so I think as a country, we have to sort of establish those sort of opportunities, provide them a structure and stuff like this, because the talent is there. The talent is there. I believe that like 100%. Yeah, and it's like I don't think that it's anything, that they're not proud of Indonesia. I feel like they're very, very proud of Indonesia as a country, as a nation, as that they're very, very happy that, they are part of that culture and they have blood ties to our home soil, Indonesia and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, you got to think that if they're not providing me adequate support for me to chase my dream on an individual level, or even thinking about like family, right? It's not surprising at all, I'd say as like individuals, right? When you're like kids, have you guys like ever like just thought about, maybe I want to play for Indonesia in the World Cup in the future?
Yeah.
It's always been like I feel like it's better to play for Qatar than Indonesia right now because the facilities are here. Like Aspire and everything like that. The league is also okay. It's decent, and yeah, the national team is really good.
And the country itself actually has like a desire to develop the team. So I think what's missing is this initial spark that'll generate like this interest in football. Not just for the people, but like for the government and whatever. Like once that happens, then they could get more support and more funding and more developed. And then it could be like Indonesia could potentially be a participant, or they could qualify for the World Cup, I think.
Yeah, it's all about, I think, Indonesia as a collective population. Instead of trying to take something from it, if we're in a position of power, like we could make change, and therefore, as youth as well, right now, we're all like we all represent a part of Indonesia. In ourselves, and for that we have power in order to make change, and bringing all of like the youth together in the future, if they have a common interest like football, that could pave the way into us like start thinking about football as a serious way of life. But yeah, thank you guys for like tuning in to AnakQatar's deep dive podcast, and my name is Ahsan, and I'll see you guys on the next episode.
You guys.
Adios.